What's up, guys and gals? It's Griever back here, bringing you guys, of course, the latest behind the bar reviews for chapter 953 of One Piece. One Piece 953. Now, I like this chapter, and you know what? I would be fine if this entire chapter simply focused on Onimaru the fox. Would you guys have been fine with that? I would have been fine with that. The moment you put an animal in a story, the moment you give an animal any level of screen time, you automatically fall in love with that animal. That or you're a heartless bastard. So, I mean, take your pick. You're one or the other. There is no gray area where that is concerned, ladies and gentlemen. There's no gray Jedi level that you can, or there was that thing on Facebook about beige Jedi or something weird. Anyways, suffice it to say is that I love this fox. I really do. I enjoy, I saw the comment sections and everyone was just like, that fox is the goodest boy, he's the bestest boy, and all that stuff. And I'm like, yes. Yes, he is. And not only that, it's like, step aside, Chopper. Straw Hats need that fox. The Straw Hats need that fox. That is the new... I know people are pining for Carrot, but I don't need that. I need that fox on the crew. Carrot's okay, but that fox is so much better. That fox is the best character of all of Wano so far. I love this fox. Onimaru is my favorite. I could go on a whole video. I might just make a whole discussion video about this fox. One chapter, I know enough. I know enough that this is the best character Oda has ever created. Just flat out, love that fox. So, this whole chapter basically goes on to explain the backstory of Gyukimaru of the Bandit Bridge, or more so, Kawamatsu's involvement. Because basically, they run away. Like, at the end of last chapter, Gyukimaru, he ran away, right? He ran, and Zoro chased after him after they defeated the bandits. This is where Zoro chases him down. He's like, wow, you never know. Like, he's so fast and stuff. He's like, huh? What's going on here? And we're jumping back to Hiyori and Kawamatsu's basically reciting what happened after Hiyori basically gave him a note and said, like, I'll be fine on my own sort of idea. I don't want to burden you anymore. I'm leaving. And he was in the woes of despair. Remember, their country has fallen. Kaido has taken over. Orochi is now shogun. Oden is dead. And Lady Toki is gone. The only thing left to Kawamatsu was to protect Lady Hiyori, Princess Hiyori. And now he's failed. For a samurai, I mean, there's this thing where you kinda, take the little blade and you're trying to find that vital point. Like, it seemed to me it was coming to that point. And he even says, he goes to Ringo, where all these places, we get the history of the Ringo region and stuff, where it's so cold in this region. It's a bit of an exaggeration, of course, but it's so cold in this region, apparently, that when samurai and the members of the clans and the people of Ringo, when they die, pretty much their bodies are preserved in the coffins for hundreds of years, at least, because of how cold it is. And thus, they mark the graves with the sword in the ground, sort of idea. And every single child, the moment they're born in Ringo, every child is given a sword, and that is the sword, regardless of what happens in life, that is the sword that marks their grave. And as I said, some of these swords are even famed Meito graves. They don't say anything crazy great, but we'll get to that. But they do say that some of these are Meito grade swords, some of them even famed. So I would say they're, middle of the pack level, I mean, once again, Shusui, I think they're really leaning into the fact that Shusui needs to be given back to Wano in some form, but Zoro, of course, uses Sentioro, so he's got to use the three-sword style, right? Because he uses that style. He needs to replace a sword. If he's going to replace any sword, Wano Arc is where he's going to do it, and I think they're really leaning heavy into replacing Shusui, because he's never going to replace Wado Ichimonji. That is going to be a sword that he's going to keep for the remainder of the entire series. The other two, okay, so I'm a little hesitant here, but suffice it to say, this is all very interesting backstory stuff we get. We all get it from Kawamatsu's perspective. He came here looking for a place basically to die, because he was like, I've given up and stuff. He wandered, he looked for the princess for a while, gave up, and then he went to Ringo to die. Then he found Onimaru, who is the fox, is this cool, like, lion fox is the translation, because it's kind of like a demon, like a kitsune fox, and it's been guarding this place for 5 years at the time. For 5 years, it guarded this place after apparently he was the pet fox of this famous samurai. I'm not going to try to butcher the name here, but this very famed master swordsman samurai who used to be the daimyo of the Ringo region. That person is long dead, of course, and bandits and stuff, but this thing has been protecting, this wonderful, beautiful little fox has been protecting this entire region and from grave robbers and everything for a number of years. And they say because, of course, famed Mado-grade swords, not just swords, but Mado-grade swords, grave robbers abundance, blah, 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 right? So this thing's been protecting, and we see it all injured, arrows sticking out of it. Kawamatsu nurses it back to health and then starts digging up the graves, and the fox attacks and like starts gnawing on his arm and grabbing his arm, and Kawamatsu pretty much explains what we already know. Kawamatsu explains, like, look, one of these days the people of Wano are going to need swords one day. We are going to need a weapons stores. One day we will fight back against the 100 Beast Pirates. This is something that is going to be a long, long Cold War battle right now, but we need to be prepared for when that day comes. This is the only thing I can think of to do right now. I need to keep my hands busy, otherwise, the guilt would consume me and I would die of guilt, if nothing else. So you need to let me do this. You need to understand. If you're hungry, bite off my arm and eat it, but I will not be deterred. I need to, store these weapons, take these weapons, so the souls of the people who died here can truly rest. They would not be happy with their land overrun by the 100 Beast Pirates. They would be glad to lend their souls and their spears so they can finally rest one more time. They'd be glad for their sword to be used for the sake of Wano and then be restored properly at the end when they finally restore Wano. He tries to explain this. Eventually, Onimaru basically lets go, licks the wound, and walks off. Then we see the fox actually understood. Onimaru understood and started digging up the graves as well. It was moved by this, right? So all this happens, and they start digging it up. He comes up with the name because, of course, Kawamatsu is one of the 9 red chiefs. Can't use one of those. The 9 red scabbards cannot use his real name. So he goes by, I am Gyukimaru of the Bandit Bridge. Leave your weapons here or face consequences, actual grave robbers. Puts the handkerchief thing, like a classic, Japanese thing. And I like this backstory. I think this makes a lot of sense that the ones who were left behind were not idle. And as long as they were actually able to move around the country, of course he was captured and he's been in prison for 13 years, but what did he do for the other 7, right? And now we're seeing what he was doing. For the first, 2 years or so, however long, he was protecting Hiyori for a number of years, and then he came to Ringo for a number of years, then he was captured. But he was still trying to do something. And I like that we see this. And now we basically have the timeline all adding up for Kawamatsu. This makes total sense. I just really like the relationship here. And every time you see the fox like happy or bark or whatever, it's just like, oh, that's nice. That's really nice, right? So in the end of all this, he does get captured before they end up. They decide to bury them underground, sort of idea, store the weapons for when they one day need them. He gets captured in town from stealing the tofu. Tofu is something that is said the kitsunes like, or fox's favorite food or something in Japanese lore. There's a footnote there about that. I wasn't aware of that, but apparently that's where this comes from. And then we jump back to the present, and we see that Hiyori asks, so did you come all this way to come see the fox? And Kawamatsu basically doesn't believe it. Kawamatsu just says, no, Onimaru is probably long gone by now, whether it doesn't really say like he died but basically he moved on. He's tired of waiting for me. I just randomly disappeared one day. It's been 13 years. I really doubt that fox is still, whether alive or here or waiting or anything like that, right? So this lends into, okay, so who's the new Gyukimaru? Because it's the same name, it's the same thing said and all that stuff, and then you start to paint a little bit of a picture here, right? And I like that they decided to start to try to catch up with Zoro But something about this makes a lot of sense. Like, you see, it's that whole, like, I've never really watched Futurama, but I guess the dog episode, for those of you who know it, I feel like this is that a little bit. I've heard about that episode. I've heard about the dog that waited. Spoilers for those of you who are still watching. Apparently, the main character is now hundreds of years or thousands of years in the future, and he has a chance to bring his dog back to life, but he thinks his dog won't recognize him because his dog lived a full life when he was like put in cryo sleep or whatever, and the dog wouldn't recognize me and it'd be too heartbreaking. And then at the end of the episode, we see that the dog actually waited out its entire life where it was last left, where he last saw him, and he waited until he literally died. And it's so sad because if he thinks it's one of those things that he doesn't know, but he doesn't want the rejection. He doesn't want the dog. He doesn't want to selfishly bring the dog back to life in the case of the dog won't recognize him, and that'd be a cruel thing to do to bring the dog back to life. Not knowing that the dog actually did wait for him, and if he did bring it back to life, it'd be a wonderful reunion. It's what they both deserve. It's very gut-wrenching, it's very heart-wrenching, and I feel like we're going on the same, maybe not to that level, because we've only had a chapter now explaining this, so maybe a little more build-up would be nice. But right here, I'm starting to get those vibes, because remember, Onimaru, of course, his old master is probably dead, or whatever, the original daimon that had the pet fox sort of idea, and now Kawamatsu was the one that they worked together to protect this place when the country went to shit. Kawamatsu disappeared for 13 years, but that fox stayed there, and we'll find that out here at the end of the chapter, but that fox was loyal and stayed there, but we see Kawamatsu's attitude being the exact same type of attitude, and like, I can't believe he would wait around, I'm a bum sort of idea, all that sort of mentality, right, about it, being like, I left, it was my own mistakes, and I wouldn't expect that amount, like, that's too long to expect someone to wait, sort of idea. But anyways, after this, we jump over to a Shmael call from Kinemon, and that's where things start to pick up a little bit here near the end part of the chapter. Now, during this call, it simply wraps up what we already saw that Kinemon was on the horn, basically, to, and like, okay, I gotta procure some blades, I gotta figure this out. They enter the storage house after catching up with Zoro, and they're like, what happened? He goes, well, the big guy, he opened up this, and he ran off. They go in this place, Kawamatsu starts talking to Kinemon, they exchange pleasantries, like, I'm glad you're still alive, what happened to Nudon, blah, 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 basically a recap. And they're looking around, there's this shrine, and there's just an amazing amount of swords. Like, we don't see the full scope of it, but clearly he says, we have enough swords here. And remember, Kawamatsu is already aware that there are 3,500 plus in Udon alone, but he's looking around and he goes, yeah, dude, I got enough blades here. I'm going to describe how to get here. I got enough swords. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I got you covered. And I'm glad Oda, a lot of people have been saying that this is very fast-paced and Oda's skipping a lot of stuff, but I like how he's been layering things, because this doesn't feel like an ass pull out of nowhere. They knew they needed swords. Swords and weaponry has been mentioned since the beginning of Wano. Swords are outlawed, only the headliners have them, blah, 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 blah. Only Kaido and Orochi's men have them. And, like, procuring weapons is a hard thing to come by, sort of idea. And this has been something building for a while, but this all connects back to this Ringo region and stuff, and it just all works out in a timely fashion sort of idea. It's layered well, and it's not overly paced. It's not convenient sort of idea, and I like that. I really do. I like the foresight of Kawamatsu and stuff, and he looks around and he says, like, like, there are way too many here. Like, I don't remember doing this many. And he goes, is this Onimaru? He goes, no, this was done by the hand of man sort of idea. I don't really know how we can tell that. I guess Fox couldn't store them all nice and neat, on top shelves, I guess. I don't know. But he looks around and says, no, this was the work done by a man, and or men, sort of idea. And he's wondering if it's Onimaru. And that's when we see Yukimaru hiding behind a tree, and then all of a sudden, mist sort of idea, and it's like, the leaf on the head sort of idea. They don't do that, like a Shippo thing from Inuyasha. And Yukimaru is Onimaru. Like, what? So, Yukimaru is Onimaru, which means he can transform and do human speech, so he can fully understand. He can turn into this humanoid version so he can actually have a conversation. I'm curious as to, because he seems to trot off into the snow without actually meeting up with Kawamatsu again. I mean, we saw him at the end of the last chapter crying and being so thrilled that Kawamatsu is here and still alive. Why wouldn't he go up to him? Why wouldn't he, like, turn to the fox and jump into his arms sort of idea? Like, please don't tell me that's the last of Onimaru. Oda, do not let that fox walk off and never see him again. Do not let that happen. And don't tell me because we didn't see, like, because we see the sing-song sort of, like, the music symbol sort of idea as Onimaru seems to trot off in his fox form. But I don't see any indication that he, like, fades away into the mist or anything like that. Like it was the spirit that kept him alive, and now he can finally, the spirit of the fox can finally rest, knowing that it's in Kawamatsu's hands, or something to that effect. There's no indication there. Onimaru, don't walk away. You are the goodest boy. You are the best boy. You come back. You come back. You come back. We'll take care of you. You're fine. You're fine. If I could domesticate a goddamn Arctic fox or snow fox here in Canada, it was legal, I'd be doing that tomorrow. I've been to the zoo before. I've seen them. They're goddamn adorable. They're the most adorable animals I've ever seen in my life. So I would totally domesticate one if I could, and then just letting Onimaru just walking away and nobody's paying attention. Where's your observation hockey app, people? The fox is right there. Like, okay, I really like Onimaru. I love the design. I really just the design got to me. It looks like very classic Japanese style fox, but still adorable. Still got that, okay, that's what do people on like Twitter and stuff call it? Fur babies or whatever they call them. Whatever. Yes, this is the goodest boy. This is the bestest boy right here. That's what this is. And I'm using a lot of Twitter lingo to explain so it comes across to everybody that I love Onimaru. I just got to me. The moment I saw the fox, I was like, love it. Learn it, like it, love it. So, that being said, the only other part of the chapter is the fact that there is clearly a supreme grade sword reveal. I mean, it would be a disservice that this is not a supreme grade sword. It is apparently it is a Meito grade sword. It's not called a Sajino Wazamono, but I mean, the only blade to have ever injured Kaido. By the sounds of it, I hypothesize Zoro versus Orochi. He gets the Kusanagi. That's vastly connected to the Yamato no Orochi in mythology. That would, of course, be one of the Saji no Wazamoto grade swords. In this case, it seems that might be going a different route with it. This isn't confirmed, of course. Things can happen, but Hiyori is basically saying this is a sword given to her by her late father, so Odin. Odin gave her a sword. The only sword to ever injure Kaido. So a lot of people theorize that was Whitebeard or Shanks. Apparently, it was a sword. It didn't say that Odin did it, but it said the only thing to ever injure Kaido. The Meito grade sword, Enma. Now, Enma sometimes can be translated as Yanma and all these other things. It's the god of the underworld in a lot of Korean, Chinese, Japanese belief. It's the kami of the underworld and stuff, right? And there's sayings that go along with that and such. A very popular one would be like Dragon Ball Z. They have King Yama. King Yama is, of course, the ruler of the dead world, the underworld, right? So there's a depiction right there. And it's a similar idea, I guess. But this sword is named after literally the god of the underworld. Like that's a big damn deal, So Hiyori basically tells Zoro, like, I want you to return Shusui to its rightful place. And Zoro's like, but it's my sword. I don't care. He goes, in its place, I will give you the only sword that ever injured Kaido. I will give you the Meito grade Enma. It might have been Odin's sword passed down to Hiyori. It might have been another sword. Maybe Odin, for all we know, like Orochi apparently uses the dual-wielding two-sword style, so he might now have, I don't know. But Odin himself could have used two blades and passed one down to Hiyori or something like that. Maybe he was a one blade. Maybe this was another blade. Maybe he had another blade that was his own personal blade, and this is just a second blade he happened to, like the national treasure sort of idea, that he passed on to Hiyori. It's impossible to know. We're not told here in the chapter. Was this actually Odin's blade? Who was it used by when it did injure Kaido? Is that even true that this blade injured Kaido? And where is this blade? I feel a fetch quest going on here, ladies and gentlemen, but that would be a damn good replacement for Shusui. I've always said that the only blade that Zoro is likely to keep to the end of the series is only the Wado Ichimonji. He's eventually going to give up the Kitetsu and the Shusui, and here it would make sense to give up Shusui, and as I said at the beginning of the review, it makes the most sense to get a new blade in the country of Mado Grade, in the country of Wano. The samurai sword's abundance, right? So I'm still holding out hope for the Kusanagi blade in some iteration, but this Enma blade sounds pretty goddamn good, you know, the Enma blade. So that's basically the chapter, guys. I'm stoked about the information. I'm stoked about Kawamatsu's backstory. I'm stoked to see more Onimaru because that fox got to come back, the bestest boy, best part of the chapter. And this reveal of the sword and just all this stuff, like things are pacing very well to me. And apparently no break next week, so that's really cool. So I expected it. We didn't get it. All right. I want to keep up with the Zoro stuff. I'm very interested in the Zoro Kawamatsu Hiyori stuff. Their chapters always interest me far more than other chapters most of the time. So anyways, that's the end of the chapter, end of the review, guys. What did y'all think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Please like, subscribe, comment as always. It's always very much appreciated. And don't forget to hit that bell notification for when I post a video because my schedule is always fucked. So that being said, guys, this has been Griever with your Behind the Bar reviews for Chapter 953 of One Piece. Drink responsibly as always. See you back here next time.